Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So this episode is about TLC. What the heck happened with the learning aspect of it. So I started briefly touching on it on Substack, and I wrote about it briefly on Saturday, and I have my Substack link for you here with this episode. And so this episode is going to break it down even further, go even more depth about the origin and the reasons behind TLC, and then how that links to the aspect of what it is today. And then also, of course, interlaced with this are my thoughts. And also, I'd like to know what you all think about the aspect of TLC, and particularly with the reality aspect of the different shows that they show, and the sensationalism and the exploitation and everything that goes along with the characters and versus what's going on set versus their lives and how that unfolds into the public. And then all the scandals that have been in recent years and so on that's been coming out around the people and the production and all of that. Like to know what you think. So either email me, that's one way to reach me, either Substack, and of course YouTube. Be greatly appreciated. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so thoughts about TLC and the aspect of how it's not the learning channel, which it originally, that was the intention for it to be. So, and finding all these things out is quite interesting. The marker of the reasons of why it didn't continue to stay the learning channel has to do with ratings. And that's a particular that's an aspect I find fun, amusing, because it seems like a lot of things fall jeopardy to changing because of ratings. And the History Channel, for instance, Discovery Channel, some of the programming on there, the Food Channel, it's a big list. All in the category, too, of revamping, rechanging the intention of the network due to ratings, due to what is in the demand, per se. And I'll say this and then move on to another point. So, for instance, the Food Network. So in its heyday, it had a lot of prominent chefs on there, and they would just cook and inform. And that I get it. That's not for everybody. And, people who are interested in cooking would be amused at looking at things like that and find, helpful tips. And then it gets into the aspect of the reality TV sector coming in with the Food Network. Now, Guy Fieri, with his success and the diners, drive-in and dives. Now that's a unique blend to me, as far as the aspect of Andrew Zimmer too, with informing and then also going out to the cities, countries, well, particularly with Andrew Zimmern, countries, but more along the lines of Guy Fieri going out to the places that he finds interesting and then promoting those aspects of what he finds good with food and what he finds good on the road as far as travel. And then also pointing out the aspect of the importance of travel, and then what, as far as food, hidden gems that you can find along the way. And that's one thing. But it's a whole other field when you get into the aspects of, scripted television and then trying to pass it off as real. And so I find it quite, here we go, it's not interesting. I mean, it's just, I can't help it. I like that word. It's just, these things are interesting to me. So, all right. So for those who know about this show, and then for those who don't. So yes, there was a popular television series that ran on CBS in the early 2000s. And so the main character, they had an ensemble cast, but the main characters that I'm focusing on is Greg and Kim Warner. And it's the particular episode that I'm referring to is when Kim is pregnant, and they go in and they invite they say yes, and then they invite the crew and everybody to film their lives for a show called A Baby Story. And I believe that was a real show that was going on, docu-series show, scripted show, really, that was airing in the early 2000s. Okay, so now it's just one of those things that is great when you break everything down with the aspect of comedy. It's that shedding a lens on or shining light towards uncomfortable issues, but using humor to get to the next level so you can address these things, talk about these things, think about these things, and so on. And so they use humor to address the aspect of what really typically happens in so-called reality TV, but reality TV that's scripted. The aspect of the families bickering with each other, the aspect of the heightened drama, and then the aspect of rivalry that goes on, and a forefront that plugs into the aspect of which I was addressing a little bit on Saturday when I was giving the foreground for me talking about and going more in depth about the aspect of TLC and the origin and the beginnings of the human nature of the particularly when it goes into the division between families and the emotional aspect of who's important, who's more important, and where everybody needs to be as far as the new arrival of birth, and the aspect of who's important versus who's not important, and figuring all that out and heightening all that up, the drama up in order to produce ratings for the show. So as that's a good enough excuse to go in and sensationalize something when, the nature of birth and the act of giving birth is a beautiful thing, and then it's something that shouldn't be tampered with. And so, an even greater example is in going back to yesterday, is when Greg's father says this sob story about that he knew his grandmother or our aunt that raised him, and her name happened to be Emma, right? And so he purposely said these things, and then he orchestrated everything, and so his son and then his son's wife would hear this and then feel empathy, which is a normal reaction to have in order to get what he want, and which he wanted is for his granddaughter to be named Emma. And the only reason how they found this out is because of the network sending them extra footage, and that happened to be on the B-roll, as they say, or the cutting room floor, as they say. And they found out that they edited that out in order so they wouldn't know the reality of the situation, that he just faked that story in order to get what he wanted. And then, that pinpoints also to the aspect of a lot of things that happen in TLC that has been noted to publicly noted, talked about, and addressed too, about how a lot of these situations aren't true. They're just sensationalized for TV. And then, for instance, the aspect of 90 Day Fiancé, just in itself, that concept is outrageous, because the process alone of how they are explaining and then talking about the K-1 visa and how all of that works and how the lives of these people are going, honestly, that doesn't seem all that legal, and it seems like there's a lot of scripted nudging along in order to seem like that's the real process, which is unfortunate, because it, if you want to talk about things like that, why not just be honest and just document it for what it is? But no, again, that's the aspect of sensationalism that doesn't drive revenue, that doesn't drive the aspect of more ad revenue in as far as that, and then it doesn't produce sales and profits and everything else, which all the original intentions of the show unfortunately die out. And then also along the lines of the scandals of 90 Day Fiancé with all the domestic abuse, and for instance, recently how I think it was the Happy After or something like that, when one of the women that was recently on there, mother being accused of some kind of assault, and it goes even before then. It was on 90 Day Fiancé, where this guy, when he was wanting to get engaged and it didn't work out, but with this Russian woman, and then it turns out he was violently attacked and battery of a woman that he was romantically involved with previous to this. And then also with the scandal of the Duggars with the 19 and counting, the sexual abuse and all of that. And then it's just all bypassed and overlooked in order to produce and film what is a simulated aspect of a large family and how they make it in this world. It's really something to think about. All right, so here we go. I am going to get into the ins and outs of the origin of the TLC network. Okay, so I touched on this briefly Saturday when I was writing about what the heck happened to the learning aspect of TLC. So, so in 1972, according to Real Clear Science, TLC was founded by the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare along with NASA. It was meant to have instructional programming in order to inform audiences on a wide variety of topics. TLC then transitioned into documentary programming 8 years later, and it premiered shows like Amazing Space and an eight-part series that focused on different topics of the universe. And to add on to this, talking about the aspect of NASA, that could have been a thing that it could have done a whole lot of wonders to the promotion and then the examining and explaining the importance of the NASA program to viewers, to mass viewers, and to understand so many inventions like microwaves. Yeah, a lot of stuff happened, for what I understand. I think that the aspect of microwaves, vacuums, the modern aspect of that was thought through the aspect of NASA engineering. And then the space program, how that aspect of exploring and understanding the conditions of other planets besides our own, is a good way to get a grasp of how our solar system works, to teach that to children of how in the aspect of climate it works and how that's different on other planets. And then going on to the aspect of history of the Greeks and the Romans and how they perceive the aspect of Earth and science in the solar system, and how the aspects of how we have seasons and how they evolved all of that and all of their thought processing into Greek mythology and to the icons that they use to exemplify Greek mythology. It's so many things that could have came out of that, and it's just unfortunate that the reasons behind it was network attention to thrive, the network attention of ratings to make sure that the network thrives and they keep going. So they abandoned that concept. And also, there's other networks now and then on the internet and then YouTube that and then the things that Elon Musk is doing as far as space innovation and space expedition and all that forefront, that's really good, those aspects. But going back to the Obama administration and how he which is it's telling of the things that happen and what's going on now in the Biden administration, but it's telling of everything of what he really cares about, which is profit in itself too, and just eloquently saying what he thinks people want to hear, but he doesn't really mean it. So that it's a good evidence with justifying that the space program doesn't need funding, but all these other things need fund. The bailouts and everything that happen. That's necessary to the aspect of the to see both sides, the aspects and the relevance to the economy, but also you can't ignore that there's other ways in order for businesses to get back on their feet. So you got to look at that too. Is that really necessary to bail them out first when it's all these other things that could be useful in the production for society? And even more prevalent with the NASA program, how that is needed and still needed in order to really emphasize the importance of science and how that shapes the welfare of a society. And yes, it's unfortunate now that we're in a time where science is mistrusted because of, unfortunately, the key players at hand having nefarious attitudes towards science instead of science being what that is, discovering the truth and then going to the next level of improving people's lives. But my whole reason for talking about this is that, if TLC was the continuation, they still taking the format of the learning channel, they could have launched more and more efforts and research and emphasis on the importance of NASA and, showcase all of the accomplishments and all of the contributions that NASA has done throughout history and throughout the development of the modern world. All right, so I am going on to talk about TLC and how it evolved. So the TLC logo symbolizes the energy and passion with which the brand approaches its work. At the same time, it conveys the goal of the channel to inspire and entertain the audience with diverse content. The visual softness of the emblem indicates that TLC aims to create a comfortable atmosphere for viewers. So, TLC was launched in 1980, particularly October of 1980, under the name ACSN. The learning channel to broadcast documentary films about nature, science, technology, medicine, history, and all of these things. Its ratings were low due to the academic delivery of information. So the channel decided to abandon educational programs and started showing entertaining shows. And particularly to go into this, Warner Brothers Discovery, the company founders, and in the headquarters, Maryland, of United States, of course. Okay, so among its television series are Hoarding, Buried Alive, about people cluttering their house with trash, Long Island medium, about a self-proclaimed psychic, and my 600-pound life, but the life of those who suffer from pathological obesity. One of the most scandalous was the reality show about a large family, as I was mentioning about the Duggars with 19 and counting, and this is the 17 and counting. So, meaning and history. Alright, so the original TLC logo reflected the initial name, the ASCN, and that has to do with the Appalachian Association, something like that, network. So, the Learning Channel. The new abbreviation consisted of letters T, L, and C, and appeared on the emblem only in the 90s, when the brand was renamed and the emphasis shifted from educational programs to entertaining shows. So, TLC should be perceived as the Learning Channel, although now the channel is not focused on educational content. Thus, its logo continues to maintain a historical connection to the idea of learning and acquiring new knowledge. TLC is the cable that broadcasts in the U.S. and Canada, and as I mentioned before, it's Silver Springs, Maryland, is which the headquarters is located in, and so it became a part of Discovery. And initially, the channel specialized, again, as I mentioned, educational content. It introduced shows aimed at attracting a wider audience, for example, in the 90s, about the lives of sick people, crime, and home improvement. At the dawn of their existence, the TLC was known as the name printed on a black and white logo and arranged into rows. The top level is occupied by a stylized abbreviation which features a unique design. The A lacks a crossbar, making the letters resemble an inverted V. Then the parallel lines from it extend to the left. They symbolize movement, progress, and the expansion of knowledge. The C and the S are connected, reflecting the integration and the connection between different aspects of education. The phrase "the Learning Channel" occupies the second line and is placed between two horizontal bars. It is done in a bold sans serif font. Some of the angles are round. So in 1984, the abbreviation was removed to the brand's name. Now the phrase "the Learning Channel" is divided into 3 lines and it doesn't have an underline. And the TLC are executed in capital bold sans serif. All other letters are lowercase, semi-bold, and have short serifs. And I think, pointing these things out is interesting with the visual aspect and what they're trying to represent and what they're saying is what that symbolizes for the aspect of a brand. So that's why I'm pointing all of these things out. A tree depicted in the upper right corner embodies growth, development, and the power of education. And the strong roots of this planet are typically associated with the stability and the steadiness. The logo is covered with an arch from a thin black strip, which visually resembles a rainbow, a symbol of transformation and prosperity. So from 1989 to 1992, the tree silhouette, which was previously black, has become white and set against a multitude of the horizon lines, forming a stylized television screen. The negative space effect is used here. The brand name is on the right and occupies 2 lines. It is styled in bold sans serif font. At the bottom is advertising slogan, "The Smart Choice on Cable Sets," and thin italics. So from 1992 to 1998, And in 1992, the channel's name was shortened to TLC, but the phrase "The Learning Channel" still appears on the logo and this period. It is written in black glyphs at the very bottom. The main space is occupied by the white letters TLC and C, which is located to the blue rectangle. Here are the contrast sans serif used. So, from 1998 to 2006, the full variant of the name was removed because the channel abandoned educational content in favor of sensational shows about design and people. So, this is the aspect of reality TV being more prevalent. The rectangles serving as the base of the abbreviation were repainted in a rich red color. This change reflects the dynamic and brightness of the programs that TLC offers. All right, so 2006 and today. In 2006, the channel decided to abandon home improvement design shows to mark a new milestone in its history. It changed its logo, making it more balanced. Now the T, L, and the C are inside rectangles with rounded corners. The letters are reduced and slightly lifted. The designers removed the sans serifs, aiming for visual softness. So the modern abbreviation of TLC consists of bold glyphs without serifs, some of which angles are rounded. They are created based on an individual design, but the C and shape resembles the corresponding letters and from the medium font by Blue Hedge Studio. The white inscription against the background of red rectangle looks stylish and easy readable. It's a classic color combination, signifying a balance between calmness and bright emotions as the aspects of this, wrapping all the same things up and me ending the show as the aspect of evoking the emotions to add onto this, evoking the emotions that we are presenting shows to you that are deemed as family-friendly oriented aspects of life, and you can learn from this aspect of these different type of people's lives and how the uniqueness of how they live can get the conversation going, talking about things that might be controversy or to address, and we want to address these things so we can get that in a mainstream thought, which in reality is just a thing to market on and make profit on and all of these things, instead of really sticking to the roots of learning and then growing from there. And, there's nothing wrong with, that's a great thing to have capitalism. It's very, very suitable and very needed for the production and the aspect of the success for a society. And people who don't believe that, well, hey, let me tell you, the alternative is much worse. And then people who have lived through that, and which I'm addressing, is communism and dictatorship, things like that. And then people who have lived through those things and they were fortunate enough to come to the U.S. or go to other countries that don't believe in that and thrive and succeed, they'll tell you forefront, that's not the way to live, communist and dictatorship and all of that. So that's besides the point of me talking about. That's not what I'm really addressing, capitalism. Or what I'm getting to the heart of the matter is not doing corruptive things in order to gain a profit. Just actually taking the time to do things the civil way and the suitable way in order to, reach your goals of learning. If just figuring that process out instead of just going 3 sheets out in the wind and 3 sheets out into the discovery in the sea and just going all full out there and sinking down and then coming back up with garbage. All right, so I also like to know what all of you all think about the aspect of TLC and how that's prevalent in the viewership of society. What do you all think about TLC and the shows that are on TLC? So you can either reach me through email, your Substack, through X, and of course, YouTube. It would be greatly appreciated. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harboring Light. Tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care out there. Bye-bye now.